Thank you. And then just put full screen for the presentation mode. So Elizabeth Nkukuu is a renowned financial expert. I think she'll tell us a bit about herself, but I've worked with her on a couple of other events where we've been talking about money issues. One was an event that I hosted with doctors around retirement, and it was quite well attended, and I think the feedback was great that she was able to break down concepts into very simple terms. The other one that I have hosted with her is a session on bonds and the bond market, and we created a WhatsApp group for that, and I can see quite a number of the attendees who are with us have opened CDS accounts and have started saving on the bond market. So it's great to see when people, apply the lessons that are there. So we don't intend to be another talk show. We just want to make it as simple as possible and also just as engaging. So Jackie is asking whether this is the same topic every Thursday. No, we are building up the topics. So today we're talking about money saving skills, and then we will talk about money investing skills, and we will talk about what other extra income streams we can generate, and finally we'll talk about what are the investment, what are the options that we have in terms of bank accounts. So I'll share a flyer with, I think if you look at no, it's not on the webinar, but I'll share a flyer with the different topics. So each topic is building up. So there's a build up, and this webinar is being recorded, and so it will be available for your later use. If you skip one event, you will find that we've recorded it for you and you're able to listen to it. So I don't want to take much time. Elizabeth, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. It's always a pleasure to share a platform with you because we are constantly learning from each other. And I think the fact that you constantly share your life with us, for us to learn from it, is always a pleasure. So I'll take ourselves through basically the foundations of wealth creation. And let me just take a step back. I am a financial investment analyst by profession, having worked in the investment industry for over 18 years. So initially looking after pensions, then also looking at unit trust and really general investments. So I'm happy to share the conversation today, and where you think maybe I'll be technical, just let me know so that I can try breaking it down. So basically, I will do a very basic, almost like a run around so that we can have a basic understanding together, and then we will get into a question and answer session. So the starting point is money grows, and it is good to see how the compound effect, if I start with 1 shilling today, then how can I be able to use that, and how can it grow to something maybe that I can eventually be able to use for different alternatives. So as you can see there, there's the compound effect. And I think there is this thing that the person who understands the compound effect actually benefits from it, while the person who does not understand it actually ends up paying out for it. So what I thought to discuss is really to start with the wealth creation cycle, or the money sort of creation cycle. And it really starts with us understanding or agreeing, the acceptance, the mindset, because the mindset is really what we really need to work on. And when I talk about mindset, is for you to create wealth, you have first of all to walk and be ready for the wealth, because at times we have been put into situations whereby we are not ready to make the money, or we are not ready to look wealthy, just because maybe of how we have been brought up, or just the fact that also we have seen people, or we associate wealth with something else. So I'll give an example. If you had been brought up in maybe a community whereby only very few people had wealth, you actually had a connotation of those people are generally bad people. So essentially, when you grow, as you grow up and you make money, you also do not want to be like that person. So what then ends up happening is that you don't end up using all the opportunities for you to actually create the wealth that you can. And if that is the case, then it takes a lot of time for us to actually accept that, you know what, it is okay to be wealthy. It is okay to change my life. And actually you can be able to change your life at any one point. So the wealth creation cycle starts with your mindset, accepting that, yes, I'm ready to create wealth. And then now we go to the second levels of now earnings. How do I increase my money? Because if you don't have the ways to earn and to grow the wealth, then you have a challenge. So the starting point is really asking yourself, how can I be able to monetize the things that I care for? So one, as I think, again, we are growing up, one of the things is that I will get employed, and then that is the money that I will use to grow. However, life has taught us that we should be able to create ways of earning money in different ways. And it's good that I hear that, Dr. You're saying that the last webinar will be, another webinar will be about what are the other things that I can do to actually make money. And I think these days, monetization of your passion becomes one of the key things. So yes, you have a day job, but what else are you good at that can help you make money? If, for example, you are good at maybe, maybe you're just good at bidding, you can do that and sell. Maybe you like maybe traveling. Can you create an income out of it? So the conversation about earnings, it's not only how do I get that great job, it is an issue of, in addition to that great job that I have, or that great job that I'm going to work towards, what then can I do today to ensure that I'm actually getting more streams of income? Because remember, you cannot rely on one stream of income, and especially after what we saw with COVID. So earnings is really basically ways in which you're getting your money. So it's always asking yourself, how can I increase what I am earning? Do I have that side hustle? Can it be more than one? And if, for example, I'm in business, what is the best way to actually increase my revenue? Is it to employ more people? And if I employ more people, how then do I ensure that I am getting everything out of them? Or actually there is a sort of conversation that they're making money as I make money. Then once you have created money, or you have the cash flow coming in form of earnings, do you have a budget? Budgeting is one of the most boring conversations that most of us have. And the question is, why is it so? You see, unless you have a plan, you cannot be able to really go to where you want to go. So budgeting forces you to sit down and say, this is where I want to go, and this is how I'm going to get there. So budgeting is almost like the starting point to creating wealth, because you have to have a plan. You have to tell your money where it's going to go. You have to tell your money what exactly needs to happen with it. So, and budgeting is an issue of, you look at money, you look at a step. I want to take a step back. When you think about a corporate, what they do every year, they have actually, they come up with a budgeting season. And the reason for that is that they know that these are the shortfalls that we have, and this is how we are going to bridge those shortfalls. So if you treat yourself like a company and say, I have to be very intentional about looking for money, but at the same time, how I use this money. So this is really creating a plan. There are general principles that are used when it comes to budgeting, and I'll go through them. However, even within those general principles, our circumstances are very different. So in as much as maybe there is a 20% that you're told, maybe this is what you're going to use for luxury, that should not always be the case, because our lives are very different. And so when you look at budgeting, it is the process, but the process of creating the budget, but at the same time, executing the budget to make sure that you're getting there, you're actually maximizing on what you have. And one of the challenges of budgeting, and we shall look at the key challenges on the wealth creation, one challenge about budgeting is actually the actual execution, the discipline of making sure that this is what is going to happen. So budgeting itself, yes, can be done, but the follow-up is what is more important. Then once you have budgeted, the way you create wealth is now making that money that you've created work for you. So investment is the key conversation and the pillar of how your wealth is going to grow. So when it comes to investment, it's really making your money work for you. It is making sure that every single shilling that you have, it's not on, and you've not consumed it. How can it be multiplying even as you sleep, or even as you do what you are going to do? So investments then comes into that particular point. And then remember, finally, things change, and both markets and also your life changes. So when you have created a portfolio and even created a budget, you have to continuously review, is my investment getting me the best return? Or is it, or what can I do to actually maximize? Let me give an example. If, for example, 3 months ago, you had invested in a treasury bill and it has matured today, the question then you ask yourself, am I getting a better return today, or do I change the investment that I had? Or maybe I had invested maybe in the stock market. Do I now sell those shares and then invest them in the bond market right now? So those are the conversations that you always have to have with yourself, because markets are not static. Your situation is also not static. So you have again to go all the way through the mindset and say, because also we grow. One of the things I realized is that as we encounter life, things look differently. So even you have to keep investing in your mindset so that you can actually say, yes, I bought this flat last year, but maybe my circumstances have changed. So I need maybe to upgrade or I need to downgrade. So mindset is a continuous process that we always have to make sure that we are working towards as we actually get we continue on the journey of wealth management. Then the other thing is, I thought, let me just discuss a few things about what are the key hindrances of wealth creation. I have talked about mindset. That is the biggest problem that we have, accepting that we can actually be better and to be better. The other thing is about lack of knowledge. When I think about it, had I known what I know today, maybe my investment journey would be very different. I would have started investing using the help that I got, because had I opened a money market account, had I placed in a savings account, maybe that money would have actually multiplied, and it would have taught me to actually live with much less. So lack of knowledge is one of the things that hinders us from wealth creation. Then procrastination. We always say, I will do this tomorrow. And I was thinking about time. The moment that you don't use the time that you have today to do something, it will actually going to move and you'll not do it. So procrastination is one of the key delaying tactics that actually derails us. The lack of discipline, you say I will do, but you do not do it. Or you start and you fall off. So you start a chama, you start contributing, you've contributed for 2-3 months, and then you tell yourself, okay, this month, maybe I don't need to contribute because I need to do A, B, C, D. So lack of discipline in our goals, and especially money goals, is what keeps us away. And then the other thing is about emotional decision-making. So you just don't give yourself time to think about what is the consequences of this. So emotional decision-making is actually one of the biggest challenges. Let me even take an example when you're running a business. At times, you are so excited about something, so you end up signing on things that maybe do not make sense. So how do you control your emotions as you even walk towards the overall wealth creation and the wealth creation journey? Then debt and financial obligations. At times, we actually get into debt not because we have a very good idea of investments, but because there was easy money. So that is one of the challenges that really derails us. And the other thing is, once you get into a business, you take maybe debt, and once you take that debt, circumstances change for you. So you end up finding yourself in a financial situation whereby maybe you're not able to service your debt. Then you don't accept your new position. So you end up digging yourself deeper in debt. So when you think about debt, it is a good thing if used for the right reasons, not for consumption, but used for investment. But the thing is, even good debt can actually end up being bad debt. So the question is, what do you do in the situation whereby you find yourself in a debt situation? Do you cover yourself and say, now these things will get better at some point? Or do you tell yourself, you know what, I will take charge and this is how I'm going to go? So it is good to always make sure that you're on top of the whole financial issues that surround you, so that you can be able to move to the next level. So now there was a conversation about budgeting. This is the basic rule of budgeting, whereby you have 50% of your money going to needs. And when you think about even budgeting, you have to think about where you are in your life cycle. If, for example, you're just starting off from college, it is very difficult maybe to have 50% of your income going to basic needs, because maybe the amount is very low. So you'll find yourself actually spending a lot of your money in the basic needs section. Then the other one is about 30% in your wants and 20% in savings. So your life cycle determines, where you're in your life cycle determines how well you can actually live with this. If your money increases again, you could actually be able to see that you are actually saving more if you're more disciplined. So the 50-30 rules is a general guide, but your circumstances need to dictate how well you can actually live within those means. And you need to look at it in terms of, as I'm budgeting, I need to live like a decent human being. So at the same time, try to balance to say that, you know what, I am actually comfortable living within this budget. If not, go increase your earnings. If you're not able to increase your earnings, then cut your expenses so that you're actually constantly growing what you already have. Then the other thing I wanted to touch about is about this, sorry, something happened. Stop share. Sorry, something happened.
I think as you're checking that out, one of the things that I learned recently is about money trauma. So money trauma from our childhood. I think many of us probably grew up in backgrounds where our parents were really struggling to make ends meet. And as such, you get into that habit. You're not familiar with risk appetite because you live in fear that the little money that you have, that you'll get into the same situation that your parents or guardians got into. So, or in the opposite side where your parents were really on the better side of financial empowerment, and then so money was available anytime, and that's even for you in terms of discipline. It doesn't come easy because you're always used to having money. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can go back. Thank you.
Great. So after, let me just jump one more step before I come here. So I wanted to discuss about, after you've created a budget, one of the challenges we end up having with budgets is we save what is left after spending, as opposed to actually deciding that I'm going to invest first, or I'm going to quote unquote put my money aside. So if you do that, most of the time your spending will definitely be more than your disposable income in most situations. So you have to be very intentional as an individual to actually say, I'm going to invest first. I'm going to put aside some money. And the best way to do this is actually to invest at source. Because once you get your money into the bank account, there is just something that happens. Maybe some people are different, but most people actually, once money gets into your account, it's very difficult for you to take the money and now send it to an investment portfolio. So if you are that kind of person that is not as disciplined in that way, it is better to have your money cut at source. So if, for example, you're earning a salary, maybe do you have a standing order that your money comes in and it goes to the savings account, it goes to that money market account, it goes to that circle? Because if you don't, then you create an opportunity not to be disciplined, because now you'll be debating, am I going to use this money for XYZ or do I invest it? So the idea of paying yourself first is very important. And the only way you can pay yourself first is actually investing in your future. So the way to invest in your future is to make sure that that money comes in and goes straight to where it's supposed to go. So this is a very key important thing. Calculate your income, save first, and then spend. And then so you're actually budgeting. As you budget, your 20% comes at source. So it's either, and it does two things. You're either going to pay off a debt that you have been having, so you're paying it down, or you are investing the money itself. And when you think about investing, again, there are actually hierarchies. You need to make sure that at any one time, at least you have liquid cash that is equivalent maybe to 6 months of your living expenses, because things happen. And then after that, now you can actually grow onto your next goal. And there are people who are able to invest generally, but the best way to invest is actually based on specific goals. Look at the goals that you want to achieve, then invest specifically for that goal, because also those small wins propels you to the next level of wealth creation. So I want to go back to here in terms of when you're deciding about investments, what are the options that you have? And I think this series is good because it's going to open us up to some of the options that we have, and what is it that we can do, and what do I look out for as I decide what to invest in. The starting point is there are investment options for every need. and it is dictated by the amount of risk that you're willing to take. As you're starting out, it is always good to start with almost like risk-free investment options, whereby your money cannot go bust, but it introduces you to the capital markets and the world of investments. And that is where we have the savings accounts. That is why we have treasury bills and treasury bonds. And that is where we have the money market funds. This money, it's for such a specific need use that you cannot lose it. Let's say, for example, you're putting money away for your kids' education in 6 months. That money, you cannot gamble with it. So at that particular point, you either put it in a fixed deposit or a savings account, or you actually put it in a treasury bill where you know that in 6 months, I will get my money back. As you have taken care of the basic needs, your basic needs, or your basic investments that are your fixed obligations, you can take a little bit more risk and now go to the moderate sort of risk profile. There, you're actually deciding, okay, fine, can I invest in equities? Can I buy land? All those conversations comes in. And then you have to have that portion of your portfolio, which is like 20%, 20 to 30% of your portfolio, where you're like, okay, fine, if I make money, it will make a difference. If it goes bust, my life will not change. So you cannot, at that particular point, then you can take a lot of risk. If, for example, I want to change my life significantly, I cannot now invest in a fixed deposit because the probability of getting an above significantly average return is very low. So if I invest in stocks, I can buy a stock, then it triples in price. But at the same time, remember, it can also come down and I remain with maybe less than half of what I had invested. So you have to be very careful as you're selecting. So the best way to decide where you're investing is your risk, and the risk is determined. What will I use this money for? Once I know that, or what I'm investing in, then it can dictate where I want to invest in, where I am going to invest. So bank deposits and treasury bills, and also treasury bills, the least in terms of risk low profile. Then you grow. When you look at treasury bonds, very risk-free. However, you have to have the duration of your investments with the tenor of the bond. What does that mean? Obligation in 5 years. I can take a 5-year bond. But if I have an obligation in 5 years and I end up investing in a 15-year bond, then it means that in 5 years, I have two things. Either I will have made my money or make my money at that particular point, or I will lose because I have to actually sell the bond in the secondary market. So you have to be very careful where you're investing and make sure that you're actually investing and taking the right investment option for the right need. So back to you, Daktari, we can take questions and answers.
Thank you. Please enable my video so that yeah, but thank you for that. I think we've covered the basics, and we were just trying to give a soft landing, for lack of a better word, on how can we save better. I think, hello? Yeah, Liz, I think you're freezing. So it's okay, leave the video alone. So in terms of creating a basic budget, maybe you can just let us know, Liz, what would go into a basic budget for, say, someone like me who's having children. Let's say, I'll give an example. Maybe I'm 35 years old. I have one child. I'm living in a middle income estate, like maybe Buruburu. And I have a 8 to 5 job where I'm earning 100,000. We can give an example of that scenario. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Daktari. So when I'm coming up with the budget, the starting point is, and I'll go back to the slide on the 80. Sorry, let me just reshare. The 50-30 ruler, that is the guiding principle. So you go back to the basic needs, which should take about 50% of your income. So basic needs are, again, it's shelter, food, shelter, food, clothing, school fees becomes a basic needs there. So 50% of your income. So 50,000 should go towards that. And then even within the needs, there are also some guiding principles. You should not live in a house that is more than 30% of your general income. And I'm taking 100,000 as an average income. So at that particular point, if you're earning 100,000, then your house rent should be anything between 20 to 30. Anything above that is significant. You're living beyond your means. Then after that, you go to food and expenses, which you can actually put another 15%. And yeah, those are the kind of the basic things. Then you go to the ones, I need to go to work. So the conversation then becomes, how much should I spend in going to work? Because yes, I've already taken 50,000 has been taken up by the basic needs. So what are the things that makes your life better? I need Wi-Fi. Those are things that you can do without them, but they make your life better. I can drive to work, but I can Uber to work, but maybe it is not necessarily important. I can actually decide to use a matatu to work, or even walk to work, or even walk halfway. So those are some of the ones. So the transport conversation then becomes under the ones, things that are making your life better, but they are not a must have. Maybe you used to take your kids out on a Saturday, maybe twice or thrice a month. Maybe those are the things that you need to cut out for. So those are wants, make your life better, but nothing changes significantly if you didn't have to do them. And in such a situation, you realize that if you earn 100,000, in most situations, the 20% that is savings and debt is what actually suffers. So when you look at investments, depending on where you are and how your budget is, you can actually decide to invest between 10 and 20. So 10% or 20% should go to your savings account or a very specific goal-oriented account, especially if you have not gotten to the 6 months living expenses cap. So the other thing that usually creeps in our budget is actually what we give to people, almost like handouts to people, given that we're in a country whereby black tax is a big thing. So when it comes to that, then it is lumped under the ones. And the way to work with that is also come up with a cap. You say, like, you know what, every month, maybe, unless it's things beyond me, I should only be able to give about 10,000 or 5% of my income, but it should not be a lot, should not really be a significant portion of your money. But you should make sure that you have a cap to it, and anything that doesn't fit within that, then you can always carry it forward to the next month. Dr. I hope that answers it.
Yes, I think you've covered it. You've covered it well. I believe many of us are trying to evaluate our budgets. Do you recommend that we have it written down, or you have it in your head? For example, I know my rent is X, my school fees is Y, maybe my living expenses, food, utilities is Z. Is it important to put it in writing and then track every month? Do you have tips on that?
Yes. So, Dr. if you don't write, then you are not committing to it. So the starting point to you committing to what you want to or the promise that you're giving to yourself is actually it starts by writing. So you need to write it down. And the reason why also writing down is important is you are able to see the gaps. If you don't document it, it's very difficult for you to know where you stand. So documenting is important because it helps you see the gaps, but at the same time helps you keep track. So most of the time, we will actually not know how much we are spending. And it will be good actually to ask maybe the panelists, do you, or the people around here, how many of us have a written budget? And if you don't have a written budget, you know exactly how much you used last month on your food. So yes, we are seeing the cost of living has gone up, but we do not, most of us cannot measure how much the cost of living has actually gone up by. So that is one of the challenges. So what then my recommendation is track your expenses for a month or for a month too, so that you can see stability. And then from there, you can actually use that as a base to create your budget. The challenge is if you don't write it down, you don't track, then you don't even know how much you're spending on each of the items. So what we have done, if you went to our website, we have actually created a template where you can be able to create your budget and track it. So that way you will be able to understand what is working and what is not working. And then the other thing that we've also done is like within these rules, we also given the banding so that, I'm living above my means or I'm living beyond my means, because it will just pop and tell you, you're on the red or you're actually within the green. So you must write, you must do a budget based on what you think you will earn. You do your budget based on what you have. And then anything that comes that is up and above that, spoil yourself, but at the same time, remember, it is better to put the bulk of it in a savings account or an investment account, because it will be able to give you options much later.
Thank you very much, Liz. Yes. So I just want to remind the audience that today's theme is just around money saving skills, which is very different from money investment skills, which we'll cover next week. And following that, we'll cover managing debt, skills on how to manage debt. And then the last Friday, it will be about how to make more money. So I will ask a question raised by one of the attendees. She says, Liz, what will be the best investment ideas for a civil servant who has 2 side hustles that are doing great? She's single, 32 years, and no kids yet.
So they have a good, so basically their side hustle, they are not using it for consumption. So for them, they're just using the side hustle. It's like an additional income, right?
Yeah, sounds like.
Sounds like an, so there are 2 things, when it comes to, you have to say hustles and they are doing okay. So there are 2 levels. You can actually decide to, if the side hustles are doing okay, you have your right controls. The question is, can it take more and grow better? Can you scale it up? And by scaling it up, then you're increasing your income. That is one. The other thing is, ask yourself, if for example, this side hustle cannot maybe grow. If for example, I was to expand, then it means that I will get out of control. So if I had a beauty shop, maybe for example, where I live, maybe if I was to expand it to a different region, it means that it will take more time, and most probably I'm going to lose money. So even if I expanded and grew that kind of business, maybe I will end up opening more holes as opposed to actually being able to grow it. So at that particular point, then the question is, what are the available passive investments that I can be able to invest in? So when I have already made enough, when I've already expanded my business to almost like the maximum, then I cannot do more. So active investments does not yield more. So then I need to go to the passive, and the passive investments are a couple: the bank deposits, the treasury bills and bonds, and even the stock market. So that is the things that you need to look out for. Do I have enough time to grow active income, or do I just go the passive income? So if I'm a civil servant with 2 side hustles, I think your hands are full. I would go more to the passive side. And if on the passive side, then there are a couple of capital markets investment options that you can actually take advantage of.
Okay, thank you, Liz. We have Caroline who says, please talk to a person who intends to start the saving and investment journey. What can 5,000 shillings do for such a person per month?
Actually, the journey of investments, in my view, it is not the amount, it's actually the starting. So with 5,000 shillings, you can actually do, you might not be able to negotiate a good deposit rate, but you can actually start by investing in a money market fund. Money market funds, you can actually invest as low as 1,000 shillings. Then you experience the power of compounding. So you have 5,000 today, you increase that amount all the way to about, every month you're putting 5,000, in 1 year it's 60,000. You're getting closer to investing in a treasury bill. At 50,000, you can actually be able to invest in a government security, in a government bond. So you're increasing your options. So for me, when you think about 5,000, looks small, but you can actually start that journey so that you can be able to grow to what you want to aspire to. So start with 5,000 in a money market fund, then increase it, invest in a treasury bill or even a bank, because by the time you're getting to 100,000, you can actually negotiate a deposit rate with your bank.
Thank you. So keep that in mind for next week, Caroline. We'll be talking more about the investment options. Eric is asking, can I use a loan to pay school fees? He's 51 years old.
Again, when I think about taking debts, you should not get into retirement with fixed obligations. So it is a question whereby if you have school fees to pay, what else can I do? If you have an alternative way to pay the school fees, that is the way you should go. But if you must, then the thing is you can't take it but accelerate the payments. So if, for example, you got a 5-year loan, you can actually pay it in 2 years. If you get a lump sum somewhere, you just dump it there, because your initial obligations must be achieved. But at the same time, how do you get there without necessarily getting into retirement with fixed obligations? So my recommendation is, if you must, if that is the only way, then do, but accelerate the repayment so that you don't get into retirement with the loan obligations.
Thank you, Liz. Eric is asking, his is a comment that real estate, for example, land less than 500,000 on Kangundo Road, it appreciates very fast and it's easy to sell when there's a need. I think he's commenting on investment options. Please comment on fixed assets like land. Thank you.
Now, land is good. Land is good, but at the same time, and I will take Kangundo as an example, if you get the right location, then you're fine. But wait until the day you have land and you have a sick person. You cannot take the land to go and pay the bills. So you have to be very careful when you're 6, let me put it this way, when you're 12 months living expenses are actually in land, then you'll have a challenge. Wealth creation, but if you remember what I talked about, there's different levels. It should not be at your basic level of investments. So you need to invest in land and take a long-term view. You cannot it's a good investment, but for the right place. And investing in land, again, location is important, and the person giving you the land is just doing due diligence on the people who are selling you the land is important.
Okay, thank you. I experienced that firsthand when I needed to dispose of a piece of property I had in Syokimau because I had some debt that I needed to clear. And it became a forced sell value, you know, that because you need the money. So you take whoever comes with and sometimes it's not the best of bids, but you take what comes in. Okay, so we have someone who's posting anonymously. In the budget, do you prioritize debt repayment or saving into an emergency account? And the second thing they ask is, some financial gurus say avoid debt at all costs and use your income to save and grow. Can you comment on that? Thank you.
So on whether to prioritize debt or an emergency kitty, it's a balance. If, for example, you have debt that is at a rate of 15%, it is really taking a lot of you're using a lot of the cash that you're paying. It is good to balance. It is, without an emergency kitty, if something happens, you cannot be able to get another debt. So you must take care of the emergency. So my conversation is at least be able to grow the two together, at least have an emergency kitty. But at the same time, once you have an emergency kitty, then prioritize the debt repayment. And especially if the debt was consumption, if the debt is not generating an income, but if the debt, so all the debt that you take, let it be self-funding so that you don't have to actually look for a side hustle to pay the debt. But an emergency kitty is very, very important because things happen. So always good to have that 6 months, 12 months of living expenses somewhere. Then the other people, yes, it depends with where you're coming from. I think Dave Ramsky is really one of the people who says that his principle is avoid debt under all costs. Try as much as possible to grow your wealth using your own money. Then when you go to Robert Kiyosaki, for him is more of use debt to grow your wealth. For me, my principle is use debt to grow your wealth, as long as you're very careful about the debt and how you're taking that debt for investments. And then situations will happen. Take charge of the situations when they happen and make sure that at least you're correcting the situation in a very fast in a very fast manner. So for me, I believe that if you do your research well on investments, then you take the debt that can sustain it, then you're okay. Things like real estate, they help you actually grow your wealth faster by leveraging.
Okay, thank you. I'm also of the school of thought that you use debt, you use other people's money to make money. So I think the basic is why you're taking that debt in the first place. We have a comment from an anonymous attendee. I think it's the same person who said they appreciate the idea of passive investment and has said that their hands are full. So they are appreciating your comment on that. I think you've given them clarity. And next week, as I mentioned, it's about investments. So we'll delve deeper into passive and active, if that's the opposite of passive investments. So someone else is asking, Liz, I hope you'll have a session on how to increase streams of income. This is a doctor. They're asking whether doing a locum is an extra stream. So locum, for those who are not medics, this is where in the free time of the doctor, they are able to get another practice or work elsewhere in a different facility. So that's what we call locum, and it's allowed by law. So is that an extra stream? What are options available for a busy doctor?
Yes, I think locum is an extra, not I think, I know a locum is an extra source of income. So it is one of the ways of increasing your income. So the other ways of increasing your income, so there is the passive investment. So I get my locum, I put it in a money market fund, I put it in a fixed deposit, or I put it in a bond. That way it will help me grow my income eventually. But also I think, and Dr. Wala, you'll help with this, is that you can do many things even as a doctor. I know of a doctor who does what, who likes mountain climbing. Yeah. Hiking. And one of the things he does is as he's hiking, he actually makes sure that he's the expedition doctor. So he's paid to do what he loves. So part of wealth creation is looking at the things that you like. And then, like Terry, I think you like traveling. So you look at what you like, and then you make sure that you're making money while traveling. So those are the things that you look at. How do you combine your entire life such that you can always be able to make money out of it? If you like talking, like maybe some of us, then how are you making money while talking? So those are the things that you look at, like what things come to you naturally, and how can you monetize them?
Exactly. If you like taking people on a matchmaking exercise, you make money out of it. But we're going to tackle the money-making skills on the 4th webinar. That will be the last Thursday of July, so keep it here. I have another question on investments. I think the investments will need to really have a lot more time next week. But what are the other saving options apart from money markets or savings accounts? This Asha does direct debits, but always withdraws before the next savings. So savings of about 8,000. They have around 8,000 shillings a month to play with in terms of savings. So she's saying, what else can she do apart from the money market or the savings account? Because she debits it at source, but she keeps on withdrawing from that money market or savings account. Thank you.
So I think then you should invest in, even in a savings account that you cannot be able to access, because there are some that you are limited in terms of the number of time you can actually access them. Because if I think about what you're saying is like, yes, I want to invest, but I'm also not very disciplined to, nikijua kuna pesa pahali, I will go for it. So what then you need to do is something that makes it very difficult for you to reach that money, and their savings account that don't allow you to get that money. Or you can actually also decide to put your money in a circle, because by the time you withdraw your savings from a circle, it's 6 months. So that way it helps you actually create the discipline. And you see, wealth creation is the discipline part is actually a habit. You see, like the way you create a habit. So once you put the money out very far from where you can access it, you actually will also realize that you'll have this money in the money market account, in the savings account. Then you don't actually find yourself with the itch to actually call out that money. So start by putting your money in a circle, because you cannot be able to access it very easily. And then with time, you'll realize that this money, even if I put it in a money market account, then I will still be okay. Because there is still an option, a position whereby you need some money that you can easily access. So the starting point is create the discipline of not going for that money when it's readily available. So do a circle, and then you can actually go then to the second level of creating money closer to where you are.
Thank you, Asha. You're not alone. So I ensure that such easy, accessible accounts, I don't have as much money as the ones that, you are penalized for withdrawing, or I put it in a fixed deposit. Okay, so an attendee is asking about the budget template. So perhaps, Liz, you can type the website in the chat box. Or you can let me know and I can type it out, so that will be handled. And then someone is asking, if they take a loan with, say, 8% interest, can they use it to buy bonds, which will be bringing about 13 to 15% interest?
The answer is yes, you can, if you want to do arbitrage, but you have to be sure about the tenor. You see, the problem with arbitrage is the arbitrage opportunity could disappear. So an arbitrage is where I'm getting money at this rate, and then I'm able to invest it at this rate. So I'm going to make a difference of between 8 and 15. That is like 5%. That is a lot. So if you're going to make that arbitrage and you're sure you can survive with that, then it's okay. But the challenge is, you take a loan today, then the central bank rate is changed. Like what happened? So you are paying a loan at 8%, then you find yourself at 12%. And if you find yourself at 12%, then the arbitrage opportunity has disappeared. So at times those leverage opportunities are good, but at times when you're playing around with them, can easily put you out on, can actually topple you over. So you have to be very sure. So if it's a circle loan and you're sure that it's not going to increase in rate, then you're good, you can do that. Then buy that bond without the intention of reselling it, unless interest rates come down. So it's one of those balances that you need to be very careful about.
Okay. So we have someone else who's talking about their 32-year-old civil servant servicing a 3 million shilling loan that they used to build their house. Do you advise them to accelerate loan repayment? So maybe they have extra income, it should go into clearing the loan, or should that extra income go into other investments?
So the thing is, what rate am I paying, and what are these other returns that are the other investment options that I have? What returns am I able to get? Because this is really about compounding your money. So if I pay a higher interest rate, if I'm paying a high interest rate, accelerate the payment. If your returns on investment on the other investments are better, then that is better to do, because then you're growing your wealth faster than what you're using other people's money to grow. So you have to look at the balance between how much am I paying versus what return am I getting, and then with certainty, because it's a risk-adjusted return. So you have to be sure that this return, if, for example, I've been told, if I invest in Bitcoin, I'm going to triple my money, how sure are you? As opposed to if I took that money and paid a 15% interest loan, how would the world look like? That's one. Then the other thing is look at your time frame to retirement. So at 32 years, then you still have a lot to juggle. You can actually take more risks, so that is okay. So the return is what will largely determine what you're going to do with your money. So higher return, then you can put your money on that savings account. And as you even do that, make sure that, again, you still have a buffer in terms of cash flow, even as you accelerate your payment. Make sure you always have a buffer.
Okay, Liz, I think what I'm getting, and maybe you'll tackle it as we wind up later, is getting a personal financial advisor is very important, because then they're able to get and ask you the nitty-gritties, because there's a lot of assumptions and what if and if we do this. It's easier when you sit down with someone who is an expert, and Liz is one of them, and you're able to, put all your cards on the table and talk about your vision and whatnot, your habits, and where you'd want to be, and then they help you to work out your financial plan. Eric was just commenting about other options for doctors, and he said consultancy and engaging in projects like real estate. So that was just a comment. So we have, I will try and skip due to time. I'll try and skip the ones that are investment related, because we are tackling all this next week. But maybe you can answer Susan's question, which is on accounts or a savings scheme that you can advise for the emergency fund. Where can they put their money?
The sponsors of this website, of this webinar, they have a savings account that you can take advantage of. And also they have related institutions which run money market funds. So I think the options are there and many, and the fact that they have agreed to sponsor this website, this webinar, sorry, it is, they have good, you can actually get good rates from them. So I have dealt with them and I know they are good.
Thank you so much. So again, I'm trying to skip the investment ones because they will go into next week's session. This is a recorded webinar, and so I will be sure to capture these questions also for the presenter, who will be able to tackle this. So someone is asking whether they should register separately for all sessions. Yes, there'll be a separate link. So when you register for this one, you actually get an option. I hope you got that option where you're supposed to check which webinars you want to attend. So feel free to, if you check all 4, they will all populate on your calendar once you choose the calendar option. Okay, then what's your take on mortgage, bearing in mind the maximum period of repayment? Is it better than borrowing to build and having a shorter repayment period?
The most important resource we have is time. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how much time do you have to do the development? And how much do you understand about the development itself? So if you can answer those questions, I think that's similar to what Dr. you said. There are so many variables that you need to really look out for. If you're a busy person, then do not do development. Fundi watakumaliza. But if you have the time, you can actually save a lot and at the same time do the construction to your taste. So these things are very personal because of the time you have and also the amount of money you have and the cash flow, how it's coming. So if, for example, you have a lump sum, then you can construct or you can build. But this, if you're getting a mortgage, remember the mortgage terms are also different. So there are those people who will only give you a mortgage for completed houses. They won't give you a one for construction. So the variables are quite a number, and that is why it is good to maybe speak to a financial advisor to actually walk the journey with you. But the most important thing is not only money, the time that you have, because that is the most important resource that you can actually monetize, the time you have.
Okay, Liz, perhaps you can tackle this as we wind up. For someone who's not on a regular income, is it advisable to put money in a pension scheme and count that as a savings? So is pension a savings option? And if so, what are the returns better than putting the money in a circle?
So it's good to have a pension scheme or saving some money into a pension scheme. But if you're in business, the challenge is you'll never be able to use that money to actually expand your business. So again, depending on how your business is growing, there could be a caveat. So it's good to save money. The returns are good and competitive, maybe better or similar to the circles. It depends with where you invest in. But when someone is in quote unquote the gig economy, at times you'll need the money to actually propel your business to the next level. which if you invest the money in a SACCO, in a pension scheme, might be difficult. So putting the money into the pension scheme that will not need to grow your business. That would be my answer. If you want money to grow your business, put it in a SACCO, because you'll be able to take it out or borrow from it, and also maybe the money market or also the government securities. That would be my conversation. Be very careful when you invest in the pension scheme. Are you able to get the money when you need it for business?
Okay, and as we tie up the session, please comment on saving dollars as an investment option and also saving using Forex trading.
So for dollars, it is good to have a diversify your investments. If, for example, I am Daktari and maybe my kids are going to be going to a different country for education, maybe in a year, 2 years time, it makes sense to actually have a savings account that is in the dollar denominated. And also, if maybe you don't have local dollar obligations, it is also good maybe when you're thinking the currency is going to depreciate, like what is happening right now. So you can actually put your money in a dollar account, or you can put your money in a money market that is denominated. If you have a lot of money, you can buy the government's Euro bond that are traded by some of the brokers here. Forex, this one I'll be very honest. I feel like Forex most of the time is gambling. So unless you have a very long-term view, the trading in currency, for me, it's a nikupata potea. You can get it well, but you can also lose it well. So it's the technicalities of the Forex trading. I only recommend Forex trading if you're hedging a position. That has always been my position, because it is very risky. You can lose a lot of money out of it. You might not foresee some things. So it is not one of those things that I'm strong about, but there are people who are Forex specialists who would advise otherwise. But for me, it's I'll get into Forex trading or Forex investments if it's for a very specific obligation that then I'm matching currencies.
Great. I think for me, the bottom line of investments is if you don't understand it very well, don't put your money behind it. So be wary of investment channels where you really don't know how it really works. And we've seen quite a number of schemes where people have really lost significant amounts of money. I've also lost a lot of money, and I think I'll share this next week. I'm still recovering. This is like a year or so later, so it's possible. It happens to the best of us. So thank you so much, Liz. I hope you'll be available next week because it's easy to continue the conversation with the same person, because at least you have given us an idea of just the basics of where to start. And I think next week we'll come back a lot more empowered. I've seen that there's already people interested in getting in touch. So Liz will type her contacts. I think she's already typed her website, and the website is her own consulting website. So her contacts will be there. And then the recording will be shared. So immediately it stops, the webinar stops recording, you'll get an automatic email from Zoom that will have the recording, and you're free to share it even with others. So thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate you coming on board and just presenting it into very, very basic concepts for us to start from. It's never too late to start saving. And next week we try and see where we can put the money once you've saved it. This session has been sponsored by Kingdom Bank. And at some point next week, we'll look at options around accounts within banks that you can actually save within a bank. But we also are going to tackle many other saving options. So until next time, I thank you, and I hope to see you again next week. Thank you, and have a lovely evening or day, wherever you're dialing from. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you and have a good one.
Okay, bye-bye.
We continue the conversation next week. Thank you.
Okay.